Sorry about that. I had to do it very quickly. I don't think I was actually watching any of the screen.
That's
no.
okay.
We're here.
We'll
We're
correct
here.
it.
Yeah. How was your trip to Japan?
Oh man, it was great. It was very long, but we did a
I
lot.
love that country.
I would go back. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just food, people, it's just different. It's fun.
My husband used to love Japan, so we went quite frequently.
I think I liked Kyoto the best, I think, but some of the smaller cities were pretty awesome.
Did you get to the Inland Sea at all?
No, oh, we could see it, but we didn't, it was
Oh.
we were in Himeji. So
Okay,
I guess we should stop.
yeah, more in Japan later.
yeah, more in Japan later. Yeah, let's go to lunch. We go eat, not sushi though, but yeah, anything near sushi.
Oh, it's sushi for me all the way, but we'll talk later.
I'm afraid of it.
Welcome to the March 2024 meeting of the Executive Committee. My name is Sandy McKee. I'm Chair of the committee. Tonight, we are joined by District Manager Jesus Perez. This meeting is called to order at 6:34 p.m. As a reminder, New York State law requires all community board members who are unable to attend the meeting in person to have their cameras on and their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the time the meeting is adjourned. Members of the public who are attending virtually, you can raise any questions or comments that you have through the Q&A feature of Zoom. Members of the public who are here in person, you can raise any questions that you have by raising your hand. If there is time following the committee's discussion, we will field questions from the public. Assistant Secretary Rupal Kakad is taking minutes tonight. We will now have attendance by roll call. Jesus will conduct the roll call.
Good evening, everyone. I will call your name and you will please announce that you are present. Majed Abdul Samad will not be with us tonight. Kyle Athaid. Kyle Athaid. I'm not seeing Kyle. Neil Barkley is online.
Present.
Thank you. Elvie Barroso.
Present.
Thank you. Claire Brennan.
She's there. I see her.
Present. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Thank
yes.
you. Jonathan DeRico.
Present.
Thank you. Bee Disman.
Present.
Thank you. Jason Fromowitz.
Present.
Thank you. Rupal Kakad.
Present.
Thank you. John Keller.
Present.
Thank you. Nadeem Kalani.
Present.
Thank you. Sandy McKee.
Present.
Thank you. Rich Mintz.
Present.
Thank you. Matt Roberts.
Present.
Thank you. Lydia Shrednick. I don't think is going to be with us tonight.
Yes, she won't be with us.
Mark Thompson.
Over here, present.
Thank you. Gabe Turzo.
Present.
Thank you. And we do have quorum.
The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board offices and is reflected on the screen before you. If there's no objection, we will adopt the agenda. We did have a last minute addition. If you object to adopting the agenda, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The minutes from the February 21st meeting were distributed ahead of time by the board office. If there's no objection, we will adopt the minutes as drafted. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the minutes, please raise your hand. Seeing no objections, the minutes from the February 21st meeting are adopted. They will soon be available on the CD6 website. Ground rules, don't speak until granted the floor. If you are committee members in person, if you have a question about committee business, please raise your hand and I will identify you so you can speak. Committee members unable to attend in person, if you have a question, please raise your hand through Zoom. All committee members, it is extremely important that only one person speak at a time so that members of the public watching at home can understand what is being said. Please do not use the chat function unless providing additional information. Okay. We can go to our agenda. The first item is the request from NYU Langone, which came just today, just this afternoon. So it's, they didn't give us any advance warning. And it's highly unusual to sort of have this thing sprung on us at the last minute. Hopefully people had a chance to take a look at the letter. And,
I can put it up on screen if you guys would like. It doesn't super long.
yeah. I mean, basically, they're asking for funding for a CT machine, and they'd like our support. And we'd like to be good neighbors. We hope that NYU Langone will also be a good neighbor and acknowledge some of the requests that we've made. For instance, removing the parking that they use on the waterfront. Any other comments that,
Yeah, I would just support that. I mean, I think, you know, they're an incredibly important part of our community and clearly we want, if they feel they need the support, we want to give it to them, but we really do want to be, have that be a two-way street as neighbors in the area of parking and other things as they come up, but certainly, you know, we hope that this will be a beginning of a next step in that regard.
Mark, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I echo John. I mean, I think that even if we didn't have issues, we wanted them to be good to us about this is critical. Beth Israel is being murdered by, you know, and that's going to be a big hole in our community. And this kind of machine is needed more and more. I mean, having been through it twice now in the past about 3 months, you know, it's hard to get an appointment. It's needed. It's going to be more needed in the future. And I think we should support this. But let's try and, you know, let them know that we really supported this, but we'd like them to be friendly to us. And that maybe, Sandy, where you need to reach out and emphasize that somehow. But I totally support this.
B.
Yeah, I want to echo what was just said, but I do have a concern. They certainly knew the need for this before, and getting this today does not show a partnership. I think we have worked with NYU on a number of issues that they needed in building the emergency room, and they had the MRI on the street before. And I think I want to echo what Mark said, Sandy. I think it's important for leadership to be in touch with them. I support this. It's really needed in the community, but I think the relationship has to be a stronger one.
I think we're all agreed on that. Absolutely.
And is there a way in a resolution to say we need, you know, something back? Or do we have to do that sort of in a behind the scenes conversation?
My guess it's probably better in a behind the scenes discussion. John.
You know, I will just add, it almost has like a coercive effect, because of course, we're not gonna deny a budget request for necessary medical equipment,
Yeah,
but to do so in this manner is frustrating.
right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I basically echo what John said there and what B said, which is basically they knew this was gonna be something that they were gonna need. They literally waited, earlier today to put this on, knowing that this was something they knew. So it just seems like they've kind of like holding us almost, I know this is strong language, but it feels like they're kind of holding us hostage, so to speak. Because, and
It's
like
medical.
somebody said, like this relationship needs to be a two-way street. And this seems more like a one-way street for them right now.
Do we want to add that, something into this, or do we simply do it for our communication?
You mean something sort of polite but passive aggressive, like we expect a mutually respectful relationship between our board and NYU going forward, or something like that, or is that too aggressive?
I expect is strong.
Sorry, Jason had his.
I expect they're going to submit this in the request to Congress.
Yeah, that's why.
Because it's a
It feels
federal
like it'll
funding,
work.
funding, yeah.
Yeah, this is the thing that they're gonna give to Senator Schumer's office.
Yeah.
Yeah. B, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I would not confuse this resolution because it will go to the elected officials with our desire for the partnership in a two-way street. I think that's better done outside of the resolution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, so if there are no more no more discussion, we can take a vote on the resolution to, and I forget the name of it, I'm sorry. The resolution strongly supporting NYU Lango's application for federal funding for a second CT scanner at the Tisch Hospital Development Emergency Center.
Yeah, call the question that's needed.
So we'll now vote, and Jesus will conduct the vote by roll call and declare the results.
Yes, just give me 20 seconds if you could. Okay. Majed Abdul Samad is not here. Kyle Hyde. This is actually a vote.
In the CT scanner.
Yes. Neil Barkley,
Favor?
okay. Elvie Barroso,
In favor.
okay. Claire Brennan,
In favor.
okay. Thank you. Jonathan Dorico,
In favor.
thank you. B. Disman,
In favor.
thank you. Jason Promowitz.
In favor.
Thank you. Rupal Bakad,
In favor.
thank you. John Keller,
In favor.
thank you. Nadeem Kalani,
In favor.
thank you. Sandy McKee,
In favor.
thank you. Rich Mintz,
In favor.
thank you. Matt Roberts,
In favor.
thank you. Olivia Shrednick is not here. Mark Thompson,
In favor.
thank you. Gabe Turzo,
In favor.
thank you. With 15 members in favor, this passes and moves on to the April 3rd full board meeting.
Our next agenda item is discussion of Manhattan Community Board 6 attendance policies. And really what this is about is, I guess at the last full board, there were 11 people that I had to decide if they were excused or absent. And it seems that, I mean, my feeling is if you're not at the meeting, you're absent, but that apparently is not exactly the wording in our bylaws. And
Well, and that's not the wording in the past bylaws either.
yeah,
I
So
can pull up-
Sandy, can I give an explanation of why we changed it and what took place?
yes, please. I think that would be helpful.
So when we went over the bylaws by the committee, if you looked at the section C1 of the bylaws, it was very restricted as to what an excuse could be. As a matter of fact, there was 5 reasons why you could excuse someone. One was military service, the second was jury duty, the third was personal illness, the fourth was illness and death of the immediate family, and the fifth was the chair of the board asked you to attend another meeting. There was a lot of discussion in the fact that we are volunteers. Most of us have jobs or are working, and that you have meetings that you have to attend to and other things that may come up as an emergency. So it was the feeling to give it responsibility to the chair. And most of it was considered the chair of committees. And this had to be done before the meeting, because the biggest thing that we were experiencing throughout the year was a number of people could not make quorum. As a matter of fact, I could not make quorum for a number of the bylaws meetings themselves because we didn't know ahead of time and we didn't understand what people were doing. So with the past guidance and the fact that there are other legitimate reasons why people should be excused, there was the desire to make it flexible and to be rational and to really deal with this. Now, Sandy, for you as the full board and the executive committee, you'll have the biggest load, but the other committee chairs will not. So that was the whole idea, to be more flexible, understanding that we are volunteers and situations will occur.
And
I was just gonna add on.
please, Kat, yeah, you were gonna.
So in terms of like the attendance policy, so everyone's aware, an excused absence doesn't actually exist. So whether you are present or absent is true for the meeting at all. the only reason why an excused absence wouldn't make any difference is that for the chair, it would help understand like what these absences are for. As, you know, reappointments come each year, but the absence still exists, so there's no real difference between an excused absence and just an absence. It just gives the chair more information about why that absence took place, so that if there is some sort of circumstance, that the chair is prepared with that information for any conversation with the Borough President's office. The issue with attendance that we saw last time with, actually, a lot of boards have been seeing this, is like who's eligible to participate virtually compared to not virtually. So that's really where the standard has to be figured out, rather than absences, so more of like this hybrid situation.
Because if you're absent, you still are not making quorum.
Yeah.
Right, whether you're absent or excused, it doesn't really affect
Exactly, yeah.
quorum, you're still can or cannot affect, affect the quorum. And I just want to point out that the board really it's very unusual for us to take someone off the board based on absences, which we have two people that is pertinent to right now, but, I mean, I guess that's maybe just the point, you're absent and, we'll put down why you were absent. Does that seem to follow the spirit of the bylaws?
Well, that
If
was
you're
the
not-
spirit of what we were talking about. We just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that the committee chairs understood what the members were doing. I have to
Mm.
admit, Sandy, we didn't really have a big discussion about the chair and doing the excuses over it. That was more the concern of the committee chairs. But we wanted to give some flexibility, because when you do reappointments, you should really know if the people have a number of excuses, if there's an illness or something. It's really significant to reappointments or how you work with people.
And I mean, actually, this year, there have been no attendance issues, except for the two people that didn't come at all. So it has not been.
Yeah, and I would just add for this too, because I know for a lot of people, the distinction between excused and just regular absence means a big thing.
Mhm.
But there's no standardization for that, which is something I dealt with as chair, was that someone said, oh, well, this committee chair allowed me to have an excused absence, and this one, you're not excusing it, or, whatever, and, you had to have that conversation of like, well, there's no real difference at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But, that is an issue too, is that some people may say, well, I received an excused designation for my committee, but then another committee is not viewing it as an excusable
Yeah.
absence for whatever reason. So there are those issues, but I don't know if that's really popped up as much. I've seen it a couple of times. But,
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it's just then if it's an issue on one of your committees, you just have to speak to the committee member and find out, maybe they should be on a different committee, or there's some, but I think it's really up to the committee chairs to sort of.
But I think with the board as a whole, there's like just a lack of understanding about attendance and what that means and what's hybrid. And it's not just our board, it's a lot of different boards that are dealing, especially now with hybrid world, about like who's considered eligible to join virtually or not, things like that.
And illness is always a reason to attend virtually, and if someone does approach you ahead of time and ask, and has a reason, you can say they can join virtually, so I guess we should have some description of that, maybe at full board, just go through them again. And I look at Jesus because he's the keeper of the attendance. So,
Well, I guess it just depends on what you're actually proposing. If you're proposing making a change to the bylaws, then it should be clear what the change is, and then maybe you can debate that. If it's just sort of make sure people are better aware of what's already there, that's a different conversation. I will say one thing, from a sort of completely operational point of view, I would favor a completely absent, present, that's it, no excuse, that's it, because bookkeeping wise, it's just easier. Excused absences don't exist anywhere in the charter, something the community boards make up to make members feel better. The one thing that the excuse does do is it shields you from the tripping the wire of for cause removal. That said, the last time this board did that was 19 years ago, and there are two people for whom perhaps it should be done right now. But for various reasons I won't get into, it's not being done. So one of them is 10 months and counting, never having attended a single board meeting, full board committee, and to allay John DeRico's concerns, no, they are not dead. They are very much alive.
That's good.
They are very much alive. I spoke with
But
them.
yeah,
The borough
maybe
president's
that's worse,
office spoke with them. And, but, so if people are afraid of this being weaponized, not having been excused, I don't see how this board can, in good conscience, remove anyone in the future who has been absent for anything less than 10 months, because already this board has not been willing to do that for someone who has egregiously been violating the attendance policies. So, but I don't know if that's gonna be comforting for anybody, but that's sort of my view. But again, this is your decision.
I don't think it's a change in the bylaws. I think it's a clarification to everyone. And that does lead me on to part 2 of this, is that we do have a resolution in place for Gerald Jones, who's the one who has not attended. We did ask the borough president's office if they would go through with the removal. I don't know, have we heard anything more of that?
So apparently this, Mr. Jones so the borough president's office sent Mr. Jones a final letter of warning, to which he did respond and said that he wanted to talk. But about a miscommunication, so I hear. That's quite a big miscommunication, I would say, but I haven't heard anything since then. That's been a few days ago. But I don't know. I don't know if that means that he may just very well stay on the board and eventually show his face, or what. We don't have any more clarity as to that. Yes.
So we do have a resolution in place, and I think we probably should bring it, oh, sorry. I think we should bring it to full board. We voted on it. But that brings up part 2 with, Matthew Weintraub also has not been attending meetings for how many months now?
Since September.
September. So in, full fairness, we really need to do one for Matthew as well. And so, I'd like to prepare a similar resolution, and if we could vote on it this evening, we will have both of them at full board next month.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because obviously this was under last year as well. There were repeated communications from our offices, from myself personally as well. And I think for the exact reason that Jesus just mentioned, there needs to be some precedent and standard set. Because like, as you said, if we don't do anything and anything in the future pops up, they can always refer to this inaction as a reason for, pushing against that. So I would be supportive of that. And I think it's also less awkward because we haven't seen these people like face to face in a really long time. So if there was ever a time to do something like this, it would be now.
Do we have a picture of them? Because I don't even know them.
I met Gerald once.
I know Matt.
Did you?
Yeah, I mean, Matt came to
Once,
meetings
yeah.
before.
Matt was, and something
Matt was involved, yeah.
came up, but he
Yeah.
has not been able to attend. I think,
Yeah, in terms of precedent, I mean, this is a fairly low or high bar, I mean, that we're setting here.
It's a low bar,
Whether
yeah.
it's a low bar or a high bar, I don't know what we call it, but I don't think we have to worry about the precedent side of it. We should do this.
we should do it. So, I'd like to propose a resolution to have Matt Weintraub removed from the board due to lack of attendance and violating the bylaws. So it will be very similar to what we did for Gerald Jones, but and it's very clear what meetings they've missed,
May I ask a question? And I'm not asking for details. I just want to know whether Matt has discussed any reasons for his absence with either the chair or the office.
He hasn't replied to any of our attempts to reach out. When we called, the voicemail box was full,
Okay.
so we couldn't leave a message.
And we sent certified letters
Yeah,
to several of
we
these
sent emails.
individuals.
All right, and
And it was actually an opportunity to come to exec to explain their absence issues.
And I actually have not reached out to either of these gentlemen, but
the office of the chair, which continues between administrations, has done so.
Yes.
I emailed and texted Matt in January and he never responded.
Yeah, and when I was chair of the same committee, I must have left I sent several emails and left, because he had some good ideas. I mean,
Yeah.
and this is nothing
Yeah.
disparaging to him.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't any explanation that we knew about that was sort of hiding in the back.
Did Matt mention something in the fall when he stopped? He didn't.
He did mention something in the late summer. I won't mention it here, but that's why we checked in with him soon after that. It's like, hey, you said you were gonna miss, for this month, but we haven't seen you since then. Okay, and it's been radio silence ever since.
So Sandy, I
Sandy.
think second your
Sandy,
resolution and move it.
All right.
It seems like we'll cut.
Oh, no, I just wanted to say, we all know with life things come up. And if something has come up, that's totally fine. He can't fulfill his obligations here, completely understandable. It just, we have to do something.
All right, if there's no more discussion, we'll now vote on a resolution to remove Matthew Weintraub for cause by roll call. Jesus will conduct the roll call.
All right, thank you very much. We'll pattern that reso after the one for Gerald Jones, just filling in Matthew's attendance numbers. When I call your name, please indicate whether you are in favor, opposed, abstain, or not entitled. Majed Abdul Samad is not here. Kyle Athai.
In favor.
Thank you. Neil Barkley.
In favor?
Thank you. Elby Barroso.
In favor.
Thank you. Claire Brennan.
In favor.
Thank you. Jonathan DeRico.
In favor.
Thank you. B. Disman.
In favor.
Thank you. Jason Promowitz.
In favor.
Thank you. Rupal Kakad.
In favor.
Thank you. John Keller.
In favor.
Thank you. Nadeem Talani.
In favor.
Thank you. Sandy McKee.
In favor.
Thank you. Rich
In
Mintz.
favor.
Thank you. Matt Roberts.
In favor.
Thank you. Lydia Shrednick is not here. Mark Thompson.
Mark,
In
Mark
favor?
Thompson.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Now we do.
Oh, okay,
Thank you.
sorry. Sorry.
Beatrice.
In favor.
Thank you. With 15 members voting in favor, none opposed, no abstentions, no non-titles, this passes and will be presented at the April 3rd full board meeting.
Okay, Chair's report. Just two brief items. Stu and B have completed their review of the minutes, of revising the minute template. So I think I'll send it out to everyone. You can see any comments, and hopefully everyone will get excited about writing minutes. It's not meant to be onerous. It's a good thing. And as we mentioned, there's a minute tracker, so you can see who's taken minutes recently. Can assign the person who's not there to take the minutes. There's
Actually, it might be good to show people that because my computer was having that meltdown at full board. I'm so sorry, otherwise I would have shown it. On the resources for CV6 members page, on our website, under resources, you have a bunch of things like the bylaws, a template for drafting minutes, which will eventually show the template that Stu and B have been working on. And this is a simple tool that shows all the committees and who has written minutes this year and who has yet to write minutes this year. And so all you have to do is go to the tabs down here and pick your minutes. You can use this, you can tell your committee members to use it. But this way, we always know who has not been writing minutes. Some people do it repeatedly.
and don't like doing it repeatedly, have gone on the record.
Well, it isn't really fair.
Yeah,
We've been very
it's
good
not
sports about it, but it isn't really fair. In the past, there has been a sort of unspoken tradition that committee chairs are exempt. I think if in fact that is going to be the practice, exec should at some point formalize that somehow. But for now, we're just gonna be very simple, and if you haven't written minutes, your name stays on this section of the list. If you have, it will be indicated for the appropriate month, but I think Sandy asked us to create this so that committees can better track who's participating, and so that the duties could be spread more equally.
And
I have a member
that have not taken minutes, but it's not in your list.
What number is that? You don't.
Okay, now I see it.
Okay, they're on there. Okay, so yeah, we try to be very, very precise, but so bear that in mind,
Yeah, it's not a bad, because we're off typically June and July, so.
right? Um, okay. But we'll see how this works first.
Yeah, we can tweak it as time goes on. One other item that's come up, wondering if we need a sort of a board-wide position on OCM. Roberto had proposed a resolution for government affairs. And I know many committees are taking up OCM as an issue. And if we should try and kind of wrestle it back into one committee that we do a kind of fuller analysis of. And it does seem like it's a government affairs issue, our concerns with how the rollout has happened and what's been going on. I know Bulk has discussed two of I think their assembly bills.
One assembly bill and one city council intro.
Yeah.
They briefly discussed it. They will bring it up again at the next week's meeting.
But whether we should try and focus our position into one committee and have a fairly robust.
On what aspects of it would we maybe want to express an opinion?
Well, Roberto's proposal was a resolution about the lack of that the government hasn't collected any fees from any of the illegal shops. So it's quite specific, but
Sorry, from the illegal shops?
from the illegal, yes.
So in essence, the concern is that there's this large trade operating that is supplanting the legal taxable trade.
Right. And the government's losing a lot of money because they're not.
And we would be calling upon the government to do what?
To-
I'm not putting you on the spot,
Yeah,
I'm
no, I
just
mean,
thinking out
yeah,
loud.
the resolution hasn't been
Yeah.
developed yet.
But I'm just trying to envision.
Yeah, I think asking for them to, find methods to extract this money from the illegal shops.
So it's less about enforcing to close them down necessarily. Although that might be part of
Might be
it, but
part
it's
of it.
more about making sure that for the sales that do occur, the tax is collected.
Collected, right?
Okay.
And,
I think the issue is, I'm sorry, I'm just jumping in, because he emailed me about this too. The city is fining, but not collecting all those fines. So
Oh,
the issue is they fined $25 million, but have only collected 22,000. Which is a somewhat more discrete issue, I guess.
So this may be something outside of the scope, but yes, this is one problem, but at the same time, if city isn't responding fast enough or quickly enough to give the legal permits, these illegal shops are gonna keep popping up. So at that point, like how much, it's kind of like, what are we doing? We're running around in circles. Like there is really no end to it. I think what the city needs to do, or what we should also include possibly in it, is the city needs to fast track or figure out a way to give faster permits instead of lagging so much, because until that is done, there's always gonna be a supply demand issue.
And, really, I don't think we don't want to discuss OCM, like that's not, it's really more, should we try and focus our efforts into one resolution from one committee? Because right now we have various committees looking at different aspects of it, and I'm sure there's a lot of discussion will happen. But, Kyle, did you?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, just my point of view is there's a political problem here, and then there's also in terms of the rollout of legalization and that type of stuff, and then there's also just logistics of creating a new agency to actually do all of these things and go through it. My suggestion would be to keep it within business affairs and licensing. Obviously John led this amazing sort of task force with Claire on it. And now that it's officially sort of an agency with business ramifications and licensing issues, I think it would seem to make most sense to go through that, whether a joint resolution or just through business affairs itself.
And I guess one of my things I was thinking is that business affairs and licensing is going to be inundated very shortly with the open restaurants. And, I mean, and I guess Claire, do you have an opinion on, like, is that keep it within bulk, or we try and, and B has her hand up, sorry, B, if you'd like to
Oh,
go
well,
ahead.
I think it would be good to hear from Claire, but I was just gonna say, I don't really see the role in government, because you're talking about the government affairs, you're talking about inefficiencies and process. I really do think it's a licensing and enforcement issue, and I would be very careful about talking about collecting taxes versus fines. You're almost saying that it's a legitimate business if you're gonna go after taxes. So I think there's a lot of other issues that are attached to that issue.
I might have misspoke. It's just fines.
And I may have misspoken too, I just, it's.
Sorry to jump
Yeah.
in.
Sandy said taxes, that's why I raised the question. Fines is different.
Sorry.
That's how you know bees work in government.
Yeah, I know the difference between taxes and fines.
Yeah, to me, they're all the same, but anyway,
Yeah.
sorry.
What about tolls?
Yeah, exactly. Let's go.
Oh.
Claire, sorry, you have the floor. If you-
Yeah, I think that I would like to talk to Anton about it, but I do see the value in keeping it in bulk. I think that we've done most of the work around this. Also, we will continue to see applicants for new establishments anyway. I think if we're talking about OCM, maybe that would be for government affairs, but I think that it's kind of more of an all-encompassing issue that I think, again, we would welcome anyone to join us. And if there are like moments where there's more collaboration needed, you know, we've worked with LB and John and Matt on enforcement, you know, like on case-by-case basis. So I think we can continue doing that.
So we'll ask Roberto to, bring it to bulk and he can go forward from that then. Okay. That was, tomorrow's Borough Board. I'm going to bring up, our support of, Alex Boras's bill for the, allowing community boards to determine if they're going to have remote or in-person attendance. And do you know, did Borough Board ever bring that up previously or?
So
Sorry.
I don't know if his bill had come up as a Borough Board vote, but all of the chairs had discussed amongst ourselves that this was something that we wanted to go forward because everyone has a different sort of opinion, but this just allows for the ability to self-determine rather than any one course of action. So everyone is in favor of that.
It just
Last I checked,
It has not come up at,
Yeah.
so, okay, anyway, that's it. So let's go to our committee agendas, and budget and government affairs. Nad, you're first. Nad, are you there? He was catching a flight, so. You may have had to leave.
Nat, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, oh, now we can.
Okay, sorry. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Trying to figure out what's happening with my headphones. So I can just go through. So sorry, do you mind pulling it up? I just got to the airport, so I don't have my notes on me. But do you mind pulling up the agenda?
Sorry, I thought I had noticed. I didn't.
No worries. Thank you so much. So yeah, I can take through them. So the first one is just on the open meetings law. This was something Kyle flagged to us, just continuing to push. And I know that it expires, the current rendition expires this summer. So we just wanted to put forth a resolution, kind of what we've done in prior years, continue to push on that point, continue to see, make it a priority like we've done in the budget requests and try to get, overall push of like allowing us to have that virtual option if we do want it. I know and we'll discuss it in the committee, but if we want to make it the virtual or the like hybrid, we're going to discuss on the committee, but I think basically that's just continuing to add that resolution to push for it. The second one is just on the voter guide mailings. This is something Reshma had flagged. I know there was some discussion on our committee that we'll get more into on just that these are being sent out, how they're being used, how voters are being identified. So that one is the second one that we'll dig into. The third one is something we had punted from the previous meeting. This is something that we're working on with Jesus and Sandy of just really formalizing the budget process on a month-by-month basis. This avoids some of the sort of reactive work we've had in previous months where something comes up, we don't have a process for identifying it. So we'll plan to bring that in form to the committee and just continue to flesh it out. And then the budget requests are just continuation of that, really thinking about going forward, how we want to do the requests for this summer as a continuation of that revamping of the process more broadly.
And now just that, like, number one, we already have 2 resolutions about the open meetings law. And we will, I mean, we won't know what's happening until July, so I'm just wondering would there be a difference between the resolution we already have in place?
I think it would be more just like continuing to reinforce that and just basically pushing for it. I think it's not going to be very different, but I think it's just continuing to reinforce it because we don't want it to go by in July and then let it slip. I remember right when I joined this committee, I think in 2.5 years ago, we had done sort of like an emergency meeting in August to get it set up. And the idea is just to get ahead of that so that we're able to push, you know, our electeds forward in advance versus having to sort of do it in a reactive manner.
Okay, just, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna offer my suggestion. I don't think it needs to be anything additional. I think we have enough on the record that you as the chair can just push it forward with the electeds or a borough board. I think that type of discussion should be an agenda item once that gets determined. Then we can kind of figure out like what type of world we want the board to live in, but I don't think it necessitates an additional
Resolution maybe,
Yeah.
and borough board's tomorrow, so I can report back what the feeling was at borough board. So maybe it's just a discussion of what we do if, you know, things don't get supported.
And Ned, one thing to keep in mind, logistics wise, because full board had to be pushed up because of a holiday, any resolutions you pass at your April 8th meeting won't actually get to a full board until May 8th. So it'll be a full month, just as an FYI. One thing we can do, this is gonna be on your agenda. If part of the law was that the Committee on Open Government, after about 2 years or so of this newly revamped open meetings law has been in place, they were supposed to issue a report to sort of talk about how it's been going. We were waiting for that report and it turns out they actually issued it in December and didn't tell us. They stuffed it in like some other thing. And so I told Brendan to go look for it and he found it because I was like, I've been looking on their website and so it's out. And what we can do is we can send it to you and send it to the committee and they can perhaps read that and that might inform some of their conversation. On the whole, it is kind of, they do kind of concede that Zoom has made attending meetings easier and there have been a lot of issues, partly from people not knowing how to really navigate themselves in a hybrid world. But by and large, they do seem to concede that this has been a good innovation.
So that can be in the discussion probably then. Okay, any questions for Ned? Great, thank you. Transportation.
I'm very excited about the first item, which is the Queensboro Bridge, creating separate space for pedestrians and cyclists. That we're expecting the DOT to come to us with a proposal for that meeting. Then we've got talking about the resolution that we approved last month on Second Avenue, on the bus lane, supporting the bus lane and the expansion of the bike lane widening. Then we have, this was on the agenda from the last month, but we didn't have time for it, given the bunch of other things on the agenda. It's about the FDR Drive weekend closures related to the East River Park construction. And that's otherwise report, so, yeah, that's it.
And I know at the we had a meeting with Ed Pinkar from Transportation. And one of the things that came out of that, they asked for specific locations for daylighting. Is that something that the committee is going to start to think of?
I thought we actually sent out a list of that, to,
You did, because I think the resolution says all intersections.
yeah, but it was an email conversation,
Okay.
that, Councilmember Rivera's office was, asking for.
That went to Councilmember Rivera.
I see, so,
Not to DOT. So it was just her district.
right, okay, that's fair.
Anyway, it's just something if the committee could, it doesn't have to be an agenda item, but maybe somebody.
Got it. Yeah, I should be able to do that with Brian.
Okay.
Jason, if you, similar to that little blurb that you made about congestion pricing for newsletter, if you want to do something about daylighting, that might be, most opportune right about now, because there was a Patch article recently about how more and more community boards are jumping on the daylighting bandwagon, most recently CB7 in Manhattan. Given that we have, I found a resolution on the tracker, we started tagging them with daylighting from like the early 2010s. Maybe some sort of a few sentences bigging up CB6 on any foresight and daylighting.
There was a committee member who was proposed that resolution, who would be sitting across the table, that might want to write that.
4 or 5 sentences, it doesn't have to be a Gettysburg Address.
That was also short.
Yes. Well, then maybe it does. It doesn't have to be the Odyssey. History of the
Absolutely, yes. Do they?
By the end of the month, you could.
Okay, great. All right, no questions for transportation. Then we have environment and parks.
Good evening. For number one, with the discussion of Environment and Parks Committee budget request, I'm not sure how that got there.
Maybe
I know-
the government affairs.
I'm not sure how that got there either, but if you don't want it, I'm sure the budget committee would like you to have it there, but if you don't want it there, we can remove it. I'm sorry about that.
I mean, yeah, I wasn't aware of it right now. So, I mean, that's something we can always come back to later, but I just, I didn't have it on the agenda. No, we will keep the report.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So what,
Thank
so
you.
do you have other agenda items then, Neil, or?
No, so that's what we will just do. We will have the report, just with general updates and the district, and then also possibly discuss a little bit about what's going on at DAG Plaza, which the Friends of DAG Hammarskjöld Plaza, they recognize the Parks Committee working with the group and trying to help resolve the issue with that barrier there. So that may be something that members of the community would like to come and discuss. I also know with the report that there's an update with Vincent Albano, and there should also be a few other things from Sheena. And then we'll just have the chair report old business, new business, and that's it.
Just that, I think parks budget requests are probably 90% of our budget requests, so that's maybe why it's slipped in there.
I think there was some sort of thing that was like committees should all talk about budget requests
Yeah.
in April, but if you didn't ask for it, we'll remove it.
I mean, it's when we discuss the parks request, I mean, we can, I guess, possibly, but I don't know if there's really anything new. The position that the Parks Committee has taken is that, okay, this is what we have on there and we're going to keep it, and we will ultimately see if the funding comes through. We had a robust conversation about this. Should we drop things? Should we try to have priorities of where exactly funding should be? But that's the consensus that we came to, that we would just keep all of the requests on there. I'm certainly, I'm happy to broach that and, chair's report to see if there, are any updates or any new ideas or opinions, anyone may have.
Okay, great, thank you.
Oh, apparently, I'm sorry, apparently at the November twenty twenty-three Budget Committee meeting, the Budget Committee asked all the committees to make budget requests a standing item at their April and May meetings.
Okay,
That's what-
Oh, okay.
But it's not made official anywhere, so.
So
Okay.
transportation and budget and governmental affairs, you can add that in new business.
We actually, it was on there, and asked for it to be removed.
Oh, okay, it's too much. Okay.
Well, the Budget Committee can pass a reso, they really feel that strongly, I guess.
Yeah, okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, no, sorry, this is Nat. We can, yeah, I think we had discussed that, but I think it's just getting folks to like start thinking about it. But yeah, did not mean to add it to everybody's agendas. I think it's just start thinking about it ahead of the budget process.
Okay. Okay, Health and Human Services.
Okay, so last week we started discussion on the public health impacts of unlicensed cannabis shops, and we are looking forward to invite a speaker for April. And the second one is we had a robust discussion about the city's response on mental health issues, and we realized it's a complicated issue. So we plan to do a forum, and we have a date in May in collaboration with housing and homelessness and public safety. But my question to Jesus, do we have time, you think, to get a venue for May?
So it's complicated. It's very difficult to find venues. Sandy, so this came around in an email, and Sandy replied reminding everyone that last year there was a group of boards, CB 2, 4, and 5, I believe, teamed up to have a very, very similar forum. And Sandy provided the link for that forum. And I just see an email that just came a few minutes ago from one of your committee members who indicated that the forum was really, really good, outstanding is his word, and that maybe we don't need to reinvent the wheel just yet.
The only problem is I think it's a 3-hour video. So,
You watch the whole thing.
yeah, it's, but I mean, it might be worth looking at it ahead of time and seeing what aspects of it you'd like to pick out to discuss.
Okay.
But it does seem that it's been pretty well covered, so that's good. So,
Oh, and these two topics are very complicated, so, and it takes a lot of work, so I had asked member from my committee to take the lead. And so the cannabis, Kevin is going to take the lead on that, and the mental health issues, Barack is going to take the lead. So you will see them like emailing, coming from them, not coming from open. And if we have time, we will discuss the budget request for Health and Human Services.
So given Barack's email that just came in, wouldn't that seem to put to bed this issue?
so maybe Barack can present highlights from the Homeless and Mental Health. And encourage people to watch it, like if he's going to do that. B, do you have your hand up? Oh, you're muted, B, sorry.
I wanted you to finish the conversation. I just had another question on one of the issues that's circulating in the city involving health.
Okay.
So we leave this agenda item as it is, even though it seems to suggest that we're having a forum, we don't want to.
We should take the forum part out maybe and just say, discussion on homelessness and mental health.
Okay.
And CV6, so just make it.
Okay.
And sorry, B?
So there appears to be a very effective lobbying campaign that's taking place about Medicaid funding and the impact on the communities. And it's directed towards the state funding and using money. Is that something that your committee would take up or government affairs would take up? Because it seems to be a pretty critical issue right now.
I think it pertains to policies. That's not really directly to health.
Do we know what the issue is?
It's the
Is it-
funding for Medicaid. X percentage is paid by the federal government, which comes to the states, and it's for the state's willingness to absorb some of it. I just think
Alright.
it's an issue the board should look at. I just don't know what committee it should go to.
Yeah, they're saying, I mean, I received a flyer that said Medicaid is underfunded, and we mentioned it to someone member Epstein's office, and he said they were going to be providing additional funding, but it is something that seems like it's pertinent.
Maybe one of the members of the health committee could be tasked with doing a little bit of research on it and seeing more what the issue is and crystallizing it and sort of presenting it to the committee under like new business or something. And then maybe even taking that a bit further to see if there are any district specific impacts.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Housing and homelessness.
Yes, so we have the Community Land Act presentation. We have continuing, we should add continuing discussion on tenant protections, including good cause and vacancy decontrol. Excuse me, and we should add continuing discussion. Oh, let me let you catch up.
Including,
Good cause eviction and vacancy decontrol. And then the second one should be continuing discussion on the possibility of independent housing at Spark, on the Spark campus. But this is subject to finding out how things develop between now and then, and what happens in land use.
We
So,
can talk about
yeah. Because I mean, I really think that everything below item 1, we're gonna have to look at again in 10 days after we have land use, because there's so much in play.
Yeah, and I think in the future there'll have to be another joint meeting because the city of Yes Housing it's a fairly long discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, this is tentative and we're not ready to publish it, but before April 1st, we'll know more.
the Spark, both of these are tentative or just the Spark?
Both of them. Well, I mean, the number 2 we're gonna do for sure.
Okay, so.
The Spark one, I think, is tentative. But I mean, we might add something else between now and then. Because there's a lot in the air. Yeah, I guess we'll take up budget requests. I mean, we have to.
Great, nothing, public safety?
So we still have our meeting tomorrow night. This is the second executive since last month's public safety meeting, so we're gonna see. I don't want to put anything on the April agenda yet until we get to tomorrow's meeting, because I think there's a few moving parts. Budget items are actually on the agenda for tomorrow's meeting, so if we don't get to, if that gets laid over to April, then we can leave that there for right now. So tomorrow, just so everyone remembers, we're doing part 2 of the retail theft and shoplifting, and then we're gonna touch on the enforcement angle of the unlicensed cannabis shops. I believe Harvey Epstein is joining and reps from some of the other elected offices, so we'll see how that goes, and then we'll circle back with the office on April.
Land use and water ranking.
We are almost a month behind. So I first have a question, because we talked about the FDR. And I don't know if Majed reached out to you. We don't quite know how to handle, because we're having a joint meeting with housing and homelessness, if we should punt on the FDR until April.
Housing and homelessness, do you mind
No, I don't mind at all.
participating? I think we should.
Yeah.
If we have room on the agenda, I think we should discuss it.
Yeah.
In March?
In March.
Okay, terrific. And then for April, we have a report from our fellow Saba Mahmood, who's doing some great stuff with, anti-flooding measures, proposals for the eastern portion of Manhattan, both seawall breaches and torrential rain. Really interesting stuff, so I highly recommend you, check it out. The Solovia group, may be coming in April. I guess we'll know more tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then a continued discussion for, the city of Yes for housing opportunity in April as well.
Okay, all right, sorry, I need to catch all this.
Wait.
Is there FDR on the March agenda?
Well, March, yes, meeting is,
March 25th.
but we've already done the March agenda, right? Haven't we?
Well, no, they didn't do it because it wasn't ready. The last
Oh,
time it
okay,
wasn't
so we want to go through March
So
25th.
this is March. Yes, okay,
Wait, didn't we do it? Didn't we do it a month ago?
well, whatever this FDR thing is gonna be in March is not up on the calendar. And if it's gonna be on an agenda item, it needs to be up on the calendar.
Wasn't there a third thing that was on this agenda when we had this, when we did exec last time? Because I remember the meeting being looking really long and declining to add a fourth thing. Maybe it was this.
I have to look, but
I mean, you've got the document open, so that, you know, there isn't.
yeah, there is, it's not there.
Slovia group might have come.
Maybe
in March,
Slovia was
And
the
they are
thing.
not.
Okay,
That's
okay.
right, that's probably what it is.
I don't mind having FDR,
Okay,
Okay, so what is
if we
this,
can fit it.
what is this thing gonna be called?
discussion on,
We do follow-up. FDR reimagined follow.
let's go with FDR Reimagine follow.
Who's gonna lead that?
I should.
I should, I
Okay.
presume.
Actually, all of us are on that committee, so I'm not saying I'm
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's good.
So we do those things.
Jason, sorry, hopefully you can.
I should make it,
Okay.
on the, try, I should be able to.
Okay, so follow-up discussion on the FDR reimagined report. I believe at full board, Majed said that the report will be out this week. I haven't seen it, but it will be. Well, that's,
Yeah.
so is this suitable to people?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Just quick question. Is there anything going on with this Blue Way or whatever the hell they're calling,
There's an RFEI, I guess, but anyway,
RFP for the design.
for the design.
They're seeking design firms to help them come up with a roadmap to, if they were to put this in place, how that would be done. So these are, because of that, these are still early days.
Got it.
But I can reach out to EDC to organize a call perhaps for information.
And I think they've sent an email, a very, very preliminary email, but, the good thing is they're not looking at any parks, it's not, so, my understanding it'll be the marina or the existing building, so that's. But yeah, they've just said yes, we're thinking about it, but it's really a follow-up to what they've been doing.
Got it.
Okay, and Gabe, sorry that you were jumping between April and March, so this is what we have for your April. Were you adding things to this? Or do you guys want to get back to us after your March meeting?
Well, we have the fellow report, the different fellow report. This is the flood mitigation report. And there's a continued discussion for the city of Yes housing as well.
So the other planning fellow is presenting in March, this is.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
We have a new keyboard and it's very strange. All right, and of course, a land use in April needs to change dates. 4/16 works for Gabe and Majed. Sandy,
Please go ahead, Al.
okay, we'll hold the committee just to make sure that we'll actually have quorum, but, let the office know that we can proceed with that date. Okay.
Next we have youth and education.
Yes, so we have a draft resolution building on two speakers from the February meeting, the co-presidents of the PTA from PS 116. The resolution opposes New York City's implementation of the 60-day rule for asylum-seeking families based on the disproportionate and deeply negative impact it has on the children and their education prospects. I'm always cautiously optimistic that it will pass committee scrutiny. One wrinkle is that I'm chairing another board meeting the same night as the rescheduled April meeting on April 3rd. So I'm gonna try and do something crazy where like I present at that meeting and then bike down and hopefully can meet the latter half of our meeting. If only we had an open meetings.
Yeah.
Virtual.
Yeah, I mean, or yeah.
Well, you can join virtually.
I'm gonna be like at a law firm, so it's
Oh,
gonna be
okay,
weird.
you probably
I'm
don't.
going some first year associates officers. I've been desperately trying to find a speaker that can help get us smart on the social media issues that have been swirling around the city, particularly this administration's recent lawsuit against 5 social media companies based on their negative impact on youth mental health. It seems to be slow. I keep getting jammed up, which makes me think there's somewhat of like a coordinated thing to like not go to us yet. But we shall see. At the very least, I will probably, and I'm sorry to do this, I'll probably email an amendment to the office just asking to include a discussion of that issue as the second item. Other than that, that's it. And I have no idea what's going on in April.
Okay, so you might send us a new agenda, a second agenda item.
Is it easier if we just add it now? I'm sorry. I don't try to make your life hard. It just happens.
Yeah, just add it now and you can always,
Yeah, sorry.
if it's a too robust discussion, you can do it.
Go home.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe discussion of social media and youth mental health. Beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, great. And now business affairs and licensing.
Hello. As you can see, we have a few applicants. Anton went through these and was in communication with the board, and we'll probably chair this next meeting too, but I'm hoping that he could also go to the like dining out training that you mentioned, Jesus, where you sent us an email about, and maybe report about it in the chair's report. I don't think it needs a whole new agenda item.
If you can't, the office will certainly be there because it's largely gonna be focused on the operational aspect of like, where do the forms go, how much time do you have, all that kind of stuff. This is not gonna be sort of, let's complain about open dining. It's more operational stuff.
All right.
Okay.
That sounds good. Thank you. And that's all from me.
And at some point, we'll ask Roberto to come to your meeting and to discuss the issues of fines, not taxes, but fines.
Sounds good.
So maybe next month, April's meeting?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great, thank you. And so that's it for agendas.
Should we add it now, or they can get back to me about adding it for April?
Can we just add it, Claire, so it gets,
Yeah, you could put it on the April agenda.
okay. We have to finish before Ned's flight, so, old and new business? Great, please raise your hand, if there are no objections, we will adjourn the meeting. Good. Great, the meeting is adjourned at 7:42.
This was a good meeting.
Yeah.
I'll send to you, I came with some ideas